Well, the problem is we've built a world that's very comfortable, and we did not evolve in these conditions. We are meant to be typically cold and hungry, and in response to those adversities, our bodies fight back. And so the problem is that we now sit in chairs, we eat as much food as we want, we don't have to walk anywhere or lift anything heavy, and our bodies become complacent. Now, what was discovered is you need hormesis. That basically means what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so what we do when we exercise and if we skip a meal, what we're doing is inducing this very ancient, very, very ancient, billions of years ancient mechanism that protects our body against decay, disease, and the root causes of aging in an effort to survive. And so you really want to do the opposite of what modern life gives you.
Yeah.
Well, there are three main longevity mechanisms that we know of. They have certain names. One's called sirtuins. There's 7 of those genes in our body, and we've been working on them for 25 years. Another one's called mTOR. The other one's called AMPK. The names don't matter as much as the fact that they're activated by a bit of hunger. To give you an example, in 2005, we published a science paper that showed, which at the time was revolutionary, now it's just considered obvious, but one of these sirtuin genes called SIRT1 was activated by caloric restrictions. So we found that animals that had been eating less and had low levels of insulin and another factor that's related called IGF-1 insulin-related growth factor, that boosted the levels dramatically of this SIRT1 protective longevity gene. And then we showed that protects against DNA damage. And so what we do when we're hungry, skip a meal or two, which is what I do every day, it boosts up our longevity genes and they take care of us. We know that if we boost the longevity genes in animals, they live longer, they're healthier, they stay fitter for longer, and they die much quicker at the end of life. And I think everybody would know that in human history, fasting is considered one of the healthiest things you can do. And so there's so much evidence that it's really incontrovertible that skipping meals is not only good for you, but will make you live longer. Evolution doesn't care about the elderly. Once you've raised your kids, you're pretty much expendable, with the exception of my grandmother. But the real point is that these are really survival genes. These are adversity genes that have kept life forms alive ever since there was life on this planet. And the sirtuins that I work on are found in everything, even a yeast cell and bacteria. And so think of them as survival. But if you keep your survival genes on for most of your life, the side effect is you don't get sick and you don't get aging as fast, and then you live longer. Yeah, well, so modern medicine, as we call it, it needs an overhaul. It's very 19th century, where we've been classifying diseases based on how they look at the end of the process. Yeah. The real underlying process is aging for most diseases that kill people in fact, most of the world. And we've been ignoring the root cause of these diseases. It's like in physics, when you've got the periodic table, and then in the early 20th century, it was figured out that the same particles are within each of those atoms, and so they're all made up of the same stuff. And that's a huge breakthrough. And the same with medicine and disease. We've realized that there's one unifying underlying cause for most disease and disability on the planet that we've literally been ignoring for hundreds of years. And I wrote the book, Lifespan, to wake people up to realize that it's not good enough to stick Band-Aids on a disease after it's occurred, because it's often too late. We need to get ahead of it and address the root causes of aging itself. And one of the things that I like to say, because I believe it, and it's also important that we move towards this as a society, and that is that aging is a medical condition. Admittedly, it's common, but just because something's common doesn't mean it shouldn't be a medical condition. And if that definition was made formal or formalized by the governments around the world, then doctors like yourself could more freely prescribe very cheap and relatively safe medicines that could extend someone's life and make them healthier for 5 or even 10 years longer. But we're still at an early stage where most doctors have not even conceived that aging is something worth talking to their patients about, or that it's even malleable.
Another book coming. Is there another book coming? And what topics could we look forward to in that?
Well, I actually have 2, maybe 3 books that'll be coming out one after another. The one that I'm writing is now titled Survival, and the technological treadmill that we've found ourselves on over the last 6 million years, since our ancestors first picked up a stick and used it as a tool. And there are 4 traits that make up humanity's ability to change the world and shape it. We're storytellers, we're explorers, we are tool makers, and we're time travelers. And these traits are different than any other animal on the planet. And those traits have gotten us to a point where we have a world that in many ways is so artificial that none of us can survive in the wild anymore. And there are good parts about it, but there's a lot of bad things about the world we live in. Environmental degradation is just one of them. There's problems with social media, there's problems with sleep, there's problems with our food. There's a long list. So the first thing that I'm addressing in the book is, how did we get here? The second is, what do we do now that we're in this situation where we need even more technology to get us out of the problems that we've already created? And then the third is, what can we do as individuals to live better lives? And what does the future look like? Part 4 is, can we ever get off this treadmill? Or is a species that picks up a stick and starts using these advanced tools and grows a big brain because they're trying to outmaneuver other members of their clan? Are those animals, whether they're on another planet somewhere in the universe or just us, can we ever get off the technological treadmill? And I think the answer is no. Once you're on this treadmill, you can never get off, unless you want to go extinct, but we do not want that to happen anytime soon. So the solutions that I have, I'll lay out, are, today, let's use the 4 traits that have gotten us here to get us out of these problems that we've created.